Silver Jubilee Celebrations that started on the 31st of May, BrahMos Aerospace invited the leaders from its partner industry network on the 2nd of June. With the theme Industry Meet 2023, the event gathered all the defense industry heavyweights from the BrahMos Missile Industrial Consortium under one roof to hear from them about the present and future of the Indian defense industry. The consortium boasts of more than 200 companies under its purview and has been crucial in the development, modification and prominence of the BrahMos missiles. It was to thank and acknowledge the efforts and support of these names that the missile maker devoted its Industry Meet 2023.
BrahMos seeks your close cooperation and support in our forward journey, which has a fairly good momentum. In line with the clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, the MOD has increased its focus on the indigenous content requirement of all orders placed on BrahMos Aerospace. They also have an eye on the cost of our weapon system. The main aim is to increase the indigenous content by value, thus decreasing the country's dependence on imports, even at the Tier 2 and Tier 3 levels. As BrahMos Aerospace enters new frontiers with future versions, enhanced versions of the missile weapon system, as well as export plans, we look forward to having an even more robust relationship with our industry partners. We surmounted the first phase of our challenge during the last 25 years, and the missile industry has strongly stood by BrahMos Aerospace in its journey of success and resilience and excellence, of course. The role and responsibility of the BrahMos Industry Consortium is going to increase manifold. We continue to seek your strongest support and cooperation in the forward trajectory to take the joint venture BrahMos to newer heights in the foreseeable future. The success story of BrahMos is summarized in a single fact. India is the first and only country to have a supersonic missile system with the triad of the Indian Armed Forces. The only way from here is forward, and the future is the start of an exciting journey of our nation. It's a path BrahMos Aerospace plans to lead with you as our partners in the BrahMos Industrial Consortium to deliver to our customers an advanced state-of-the-art system of the highest quality with timely delivery schedules at the most competitive cost.
Along with relaying how these industry giants have aided and expedited its growth, the event saw industry stalwarts talk about their experience and thoughts on BrahMos Aerospace's journey so far, bringing focus on the joint venture's indigenization efforts and initiatives.
मुझे जानकर प्रसन्नता होती है कि हमारी सरकार के समय इस अजेय हथियार प्रणाली ब्रह्मोस में करीब 75% से ज़्यादा इंडिजनाइजेशन हो चुका है और आप सभी रक्षा उद्योग ने ब्रह्मोस एरोस्पेस के साथ मिलकर मेक इन इंडिया और आत्मनिर्भर भारत कार्यक्रम को मजबूत किया है। आज ब्रह्मोस जॉइंट वेंचर भारत और रूस दोनों देशों के सार्वजनिक और निजी उद्योगों के अभूतपूर्व सहयोग के साथ एक विशाल और मजबूत संगठन बन गया है।
What also stands out in the BrahMos project is the rapid development and qualification of indigenous sources. We are very happy to know that much of the raw material has been indigenized, and I think credit goes to BrahMos, to DRDO, to RF, to all our vendors, all of us around here, to have successfully developed, qualified and productionized the critical raw material for BrahMos. To have been chosen to be a partner with BrahMos, I could say, is one of the proudest moments for a company in its 125 years.
I would say that in our journey as a defense industry, every now and then we get that little blip which moves the industry up, and BrahMos was one such event. Around 2000, when Dr. Pillai wanted L&T to be part of the BrahMos industrial complex, we decided to embark on manufacturing of composites, and it was a real learning journey from there on.
In this journey, ECIL has also jointly with DRDO and DAE has developed RF Seeker, which is very important part of the missile for the terminal guidance. we have manufactured, qualified. Thereon it was flight trials and sea trials have been done. In between we have established the manufacturing facility also, and now we are in process of getting larger orders.
BrahMos weapon system has been the forebearer in the sense that a lot of new steps, the first timers, have been established while inducting this weapon system and taking it into the hands of the operational soldier. It is also the first example of the public-private partnership implemented and executed in true spirit, and we are today seeing the benefits of the same.
I remember that in one of the success meetings where Dr. Kalam in his own style, he said, "Hey guys, funny, every time you are the fifth nation or sixth nation, what is it? I need to see that this we have as the first nation which will be celebrating." That is the seed for the BrahMos, and I should really thank the NPO Mission Austria for cooperating with India and then working jointly together, and real technological cooperations where you are doing certain systems and the NPOM doing certain systems. BrahMos Private Limited is a conglomeration of many industries and many people participating and doing it right from the development stages.
To thank all the stakeholders present for being an invaluable partner enabling efficient design, development and evolution of the missile system, the missile maker also hosted a small felicitation ceremony.
It is said that no duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. I'll do my best, but no amount of words I express today would be enough to convey our heartful thankfulness and gratitude to our industry partners for your valuable contribution in the historic journey of BrahMos. At the outset, on behalf of the organization, I would like to take the privilege to thank our chief guest, Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri, Sri Ajay Bhattji. However, he was not available to join us physically due to unforeseen circumstances, but even then, he gave the video message in morning for our Silver Jubilee celebration. Actually, the success story of BrahMos would not be complete without thanking all of our industry partners, including MSMEs. The BrahMos Missile Industry Consortium today boasts of more than 200 companies and defense entities. You are a strong ecosystem which has enabled us to make a successful product. I would like to acknowledge your indispensable contribution in the manufacturing of BrahMos weapon system.
Before concluding the event, we were able to have an exclusive session with ATUL DINKAR RANE, DG BrahMos, DRDO and CEO and MD BrahMos Aerospace, to know his thoughts on India's Atmanirbhar ambitions.
Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining in. Of course, this is the Silver Jubilee year that we have been celebrating, and Atmanirbharta is the vision of security and growth, and of course how we can enlarge this further, especially when it comes to our cruise missiles, our defense sector. And who better to speak on this issue? We are currently joined by Mr. ATUL DINKAR RANE, who is the CEO and MD of BrahMos Aerospace. Sir, thank you very much for taking out your time. So enlighten us and talk about how exactly when BrahMos came into the picture, sir. Of course, your story that goes back to 93, you were the Akash man. Can you tell us more on that, sir?
From 1998 till 2001, we were on the design board. In all ways, it was not just design of the missile, it was also designing how the joint venture would work. How once we finish the design and develop and do a test trial, how quickly can we get into production? So this was the first initial part of the journey. Within about 10 years, we had an anti-ship, a supersonic cruise missile capable of anti-ship capable targets and land targets. The army started saying, no, we want to work in the mountainous areas. We want to have steep dive capabilities. So these are all improvements which we have done over the years. by the time it was very clear that we would be able to do it from the air platform. The Indian Air Force came on board. We worked along with them also, in fact, in the design along with HAL. And today the Su-30 carries its heaviest armament as the BrahMos air-launched missile. And we actually did break a second time that fifth nation syndrome which Dr. Kalam had exhorted to us about 15-20 years before that. We were the first supersonic cruise missile inducted in the armed forces anywhere, and we were the first nation to have a triad of the armed forces having the same supersonic cruise missile. So this has been a journey in a nutshell.
Right, sir. And that was your first visit to Russia also back in '93, if we talk about.
Yeah, '93 is when we made our first visit, and we saw what are the capabilities of our partners. And the talks actually started from there on how we could go about doing it. Dr. Kalam was really a visionary, also aided by the first CEO MD of BrahMos Aerospace, Dr. A. It was a massive journey. I mean, the technologists and engineers from NPO Marsh, Dr. Gerbert, Yefremov, Dr. Leonov. I mean, I can keep on telling names of people who inspired me as a youngster.
So it was 5 years later when actually, the joint venture started between India and Russia. How did BrahMos come into being, sir? And what was the initial thoughts? Because, as you've been also saying that India is something that has, never started the conflict, has never invaded any country. But when it comes to even prioritizing their own defense sector, as their own defense sectors, what do we look at BrahMos coming into being?
Yeah. The first aspect of BrahMos, leave aside the missile system and the weapon system, was we should be able to do the production of this missile system in India, in the country. The initial idea was 50-50, 50% of the missiles would come from Russia and 50% of the missiles would come from India. And by 2005, it was clear that there's no necessity to get the missiles in from Russia. The infrastructure within our country, with the industries, we would be able to manage. Maybe some kit of parts would come from Russia, and then it's been only a walk forward, a march forward.
25 years almost that we are talking about, but you're believing that at that point in time, the self-reliance or Atmanirbharta started within India, sir. But even if we talk about the potency of BrahMos, sir, does India actually need a cost-effective missile more, especially in how when it comes to its potency and also how lethal that would be? Would it something that in the near future that we are looking at?
The first thing which I would like to always clarify to everyone, there is no more potent weapon than the BrahMos weapon system right now. In fact, it's proved itself over the years through the various trials we have had. And literally we have found that there is almost no defense against the BrahMos system. As through design, it gives only a couple of seconds to the adversary to react and try to annul the effect of the attack coming in. And the sheer kinetic energy along with the warhead, it devastates the target. We will be working on much more better variants in terms of size, miniaturization. The world is moving forward. Miniaturization is part of it. So we are working on the next generation BrahMos, which is half the size of the current BrahMos. Dimensions 1/3, but weight half, and it will have exactly the same specifications of the current BrahMos missile, which means more numbers of the missile on the same platform. This is where we are going first. We have a few more long-term plans. We'll reveal them slowly as we go forward.
So, sir, warfare has always been something as part of the human civilization, as we're looking at years and years and centuries of that altogether. But if you want to shed some light on the recent, as far as the cruise firing that hit the bullseye, the latest one that happened, they've been talking about, is it the 3 times the speed of sound, hitting the bullseye? Would you want to enlighten us on that?
You see, we've been improving the performance. Of course, through design itself, our missile flies at close to 3 times the speed of sound. We do say 3 times because who worries about those small fractions? What INS Marmar did on May 15th, just a couple of days back, and that's why we've had to delay our 25 years celebration, was stupendous, because it was not only acceptance test firing of such a modern ship, but it was a modern ship fitted with modern weapons. And it was an unbelievable trial, actually. We were all on tenterhooks, but it just proved that whatever improvement we are trying to do on the missile system actually works. And we went for some improvements which were not envisaged, and they were done just at the last moment, and it worked. And we are all cock-a-hoop about these trials.
Absolutely, that was a very, very proud moment, sir. Rane sir, especially if we talk about the contribution of BrahMos, sir, how big is it a contribution as we look at a self-reliant or Atmanirbharta vision cutting closer, sir?
You see, the whole idea of having the industry involved with R&D, it did start somewhere in the 80s, but it was very loosely done in terms of what I call concurrent engineering is what we were doing. The R&D would go on and the industry would do the production. And then that would be used in the prototypes. But here what was happening is the R&D and production was happening at the same time. While we were doing the design of an airframe, the industry was doing the design along with us. A process has been decided that this is how we would do the manufacturing. The industry would say, hang on, this is not possible on the floor, on the shop floor or in an integration line. The BrahMos Military Industrial Complex has actually created that dogma that the design which BrahMos is doing is a producible design. So when we talk about the next generation BrahMos, why we are talking about such a short period of time is they will be involved in our design and production right from day one. This is a model which needs to be replicated across all our other systems. Policies are changing, and I guess things will move forward. We'll see the benefits of the offshoots and the learnings we have had from the BrahMos in other systems also.
But this is something that is never completely truly revealed, especially to the enemies. We keep it to ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, we won't be telling too much about what happens where and how it happens.
Right, sir. And you believe that India is leading. I mean, it's going up the ladder, especially when it comes to making missiles or even with a joint venture with Russia, but the self-reliant message is largely going across.
There is no doubt about that. I mean, it's not just missiles. We are talking about radar systems, we are talking about ships. I mean, our recent aircraft carrier is a wonderful example. We may have borrowed design, we may have borrowed a few things from earlier ships, but that's totally, purely, totally made in India. We are self-reliant. It's only that we need a few pushes in certain niche areas, which the government has already started talking about and looking at that in those areas. It's not primarily or necessarily the defense industry which needs to be Atmanirbhar. It's the country which needs to be Atmanirbhar in terms, because the materials, the equipment, the machines, the electronics are not only for defense, it's for the rest of the civilian applications also.
How far do you believe that we have come, say, from Prithvi, from Akash, from Trishul, from Nag as well, and the current circumstances as well? How far do you believe, and how fulfilling has the journey been?
Well, compared to the IGMDP program, which was designed in the 1980s and gone through production, some of the projects have also closed because the modern weapons have come in, or modern missiles have come in. BrahMos is truly a modern system, state of the art, and it is actually proven. And it's not only BrahMos; there are a few others close at the heels. The DRDO designed and developed missiles are there, and we are absolutely. I mean, we have taken a leaf out of our own notebook in our country, and we are going to be moving forward and being self-reliant. Absolutely. Cost is one main thing which we will have to look at, because self-reliance also does not mean that the cost decreases. It may mean that the cost increases.
Last question, Mr. Rane sir. If we talk about truly why BrahMos is called as India's Brahmastra as well, but to achieve the dream as far as $5 billion export industry is also concerned, sir, do we have our eyes on that?
Of course. I had, I think, a year back mentioned that we would be able to crack the $5 billion dream on our own. Well, the geopolitical situations have changed a bit. Many of the countries are also looking at self-reliance. It's not only India which is looking at it. So there are always a few hiccups, and export is a new game for all of us. But I have no doubt that the 5 billion team will be cracked, not in 5 years, but of course now it's less than 5 years, it will be cracked within another 2-3 years.
By combining public-private sectors from Russia and India to form a missile industry complex, BrahMos has established itself as a paradigm. Today, BrahMos Aerospace has showcased an excellent example of how India can develop cost-effective high-technology systems from concept to market in the shortest amount of time.